Good morning. It is an absolute joy to be with you this morning. Wherever you are, if you're new, or maybe you're a member or a Zoomer, I'm so grateful to be in the sanctuary at Fourth U. Thank you so much for having me. I'm especially grateful because I get to talk to you all and be in community with you each this morning about something that is so important to me, community. Community has changed my life. I stand here this morning not just as one person, but instead the product of many people who have poured their time, energy, and resources into my very development and becoming. I am confident that without community, I would not be the person I am today. The sharing in and being a part of community has taught me valuable lessons about the interconnectivity of life, that we are not meant to journey alone. Community has taught me about the spaciousness of healing, that our paths are not linear. We need cheerleaders and mentors and peers and colleagues to remind us of who we are and what we are capable of. Community has taught me how to actively engage in resistance as a spiritual practice. For when we gather and share our stories and lift each other up, we are resisting systems of oppression such as capitalism and white supremacy that feed on isolation. One of the most beautiful facets of community is that connection is not only created through our shared experiences, but also through our unique differences. Audre Lorde once said, "Without community, there is no liberation." But community must not mean a shedding of our differences, nor the pathetic pretenses that these differences do not exist. Growing up in the conservative evangelical church, I was taught to hide who I was. I was not celebrated nor honored for my differences, and certainly not my quirks, but instead isolated to the belief that the only thing that made me valuable was a God that condemned my very being. What Audre Lorde offers through these words is a different perspective. That freedom is emboldened by the richness of diversity, experience, and thought, and that this richness creates a vibrant sense of community and therefore liberation. The tapestry of community that is created by diverse beauty invites us to reimagine connection, that we don't have to do and think the same things, or even that we're freed by the same ideals, but instead, community is a call to action, a space at the table for all to bring our full, authentic selves. I think we can agree that that's a very Unitarian Universalist belief. Throughout time, many communities, and communities often pushed to the margins, have continued to nurture spaces where liberation is a team sport, creating space for intersectionality of a multitude of experiences. Without community, there is no liberation, a truth that calls us deeper to our understanding of existence. So I began this morning by saying that community has changed my life. One such community is the queer community, where I have found meaningful connection and have been invited to be my best, most authentic version of myself. I don't know if this will come as a shock or not, because I'm not wearing anything rainbow, but I am queer. And there was a point in time where I couldn't see a world where my understanding of self and spirituality could coexist. As I mentioned, I was raised in a tradition that is famously anti-LGBTQ. The primary theological teachings of fundamentalisms finds their root in the peril of humanity, that we are sinful, wrong, and mostly unworthy of love. This very teaching taught me to fear myself, especially as I began to age and wonder, maybe I'm gay. Out of fear, I can remember writing, "I will not be gay," in the margin of my chemistry notebook in hopes that this mantra would somehow, magically, turn me straight and thereby be acceptable to the God of my upbringing. And out of fear, I stuffed the thought of my own queerness deep down into myself and tried my best to blend in. While I was wrestling with my sense of spirituality and sexuality, I began to discern a call to ministry, which led me to divinity school. When I arrived at orientation on a very hot, very stuffy North Carolina day, I found myself shocked. Truly, I was shocked. I was surrounded by gay people who wanted to be pastors. Okay, not all of them, but a lot of them were queer people. This moment was the first time in my life where queerness and spirituality were not only connected, but shared space with one another, in community with each other, challenging the notion that I was excluded by religion and spirituality because of my sexuality. Rather, it reflected the highest of divinity, love. The queer community I made in grad school holds a special place in my heart as my first real understanding of what it meant to be held by community. This group of people bore witness to my joys and sorrows, celebrated me when I came out, and listened when I lost my first love, shared of their time and resources, and invited me to understand and integrate a spirituality and a sense of self that welcomed all of me, and in return, I offered the space for them to do the same. This is what community does. Through the ebb and flow of life, it liberates us from a place of isolation to see the world as a place of collaboration and connection. For my first queer community and the queer communities that followed, shout out to my NYC gay kickball community and the greater LGBTQ community, I give great thanks. You showed me life's abundance exists beyond fear, giving me the space to reauthor wrong beliefs and connect the beauty and abundance of both my queerness and spirituality. The poem that Patty so beautifully read this morning, You See This, by Octavia Butler, breathes life into what the understanding of community is, further illustrating how community helps us to understand interconnectivity, the spaciousness of healing and resistance more clearly. Octavia says, "You see this. This is what is in you, what makes you you, what connects you. You are more than flesh and bone, more than blood and sinew, more than tendon and cartilage. You are forever. You are everything, everywhere, all at once." Community is interconnectivity, that you and I and we are everything, everywhere, all at once. When we can pivot to see the inherent worth and dignity in all people and prioritize we over I, we are able to look into the eyes of another, see someone who needs food or shelter, sit in the same pew as another, engage with the bodega employee, and see ourselves reflected. For the interconnectivity of community teaches us that we need each other, that we are never meant to journey alone. When we look at communities, particularly marginalized communities that oppose structures and institutions of white supremacy and capitalism, we see an increase in the reliance on community. The anxious attachment that institutions have created between humankind and survival is challenged by the secure attachment community offers to humankind. To experience sickness, mental health challenges, grief and loss, or trial is to be human. Where society and institutions tell us, oh well, and good luck, the interconnectivity of community says you are not alone, and I have your back. Octavia writes, "You are seed, you are universe, you are power, You are the soul of the constellations. You are time without end. Institutions of power often evangelize a linear way of existence. This is particularly true when it comes to healing. As human beings, the healing process, either emotional or physical, is something we all experience and will experience frequently throughout our lives. I bet if I were to ask each of you today in this room, you would also acknowledge that your healing and our collective healing is not linear, and it very rarely is. I wonder if then we can see healing as more like a spiral, a labyrinth of experience that leads us out and back and out and back again. Community offers us spaciousness of healing that doesn't require linear movement. Instead, much like the constellations that Octavia writes about, community allows us to freely exist and allow our healing to take shape in whatever form it needs to. Community is our peers and families, chosen or by blood, friends, mentors, teachers, and guides, reminding us of who we are and what we are capable of. Octavia wraps up her poem by saying, "You are change, God is change, you are God. If and when you forget this, look to the heavens, see your destiny, and take root among the stars." To forget is to be human. All of us experience losing sight of who we are and where we're going. But as Octavia says, when you forget, look to the heavens, see your destiny, and take root among the stars. Community is the heavens in this sense. It reminds us of who we are. It allows us to see our destiny and take root among each other, existing in connection with one another. To be among community is to be among the stars, to be one of many, to be held in mystery and thereby resist the false hope of isolation. This way of being is an act of resistance in a culture and society that seeks to divide us. To gather in community, such as when we gather in a space on Sundays, is resistance. When we gather as a community, we say no more to exclusion, isolation, division, hatred, and loneliness. Instead, we offer a space to share and listen to each other, thereby creating more compassion, empathy, spaciousness, healing, and abundance in our lives. This is a spiritual practice, a practice of returning home to one another and acknowledging the wholeness and intricate masterpiece of each other. As a progressive Unitarian Universalist congregation, how can we be a community where our members and newcomers alike are able to say, Fourth U is a community that has changed my life? I believe there are many different ways to tackle this question, and it is imperative that we are committed to building community where not only all are welcome, but affirmed in their identity and experiences. I believe we have a call to remain united in the face of institutions of power that marginalize, divide, exclude, and harm our fellow kin. We are interconnected beings, and the plight of all people, BIPOC people, LGBTQ people, folks with disabilities, gender minorities, people of a lower socioeconomic class, fat people, people who experience mental health challenges, all deserve the spaciousness to not only be heard, but have their existence honored, cherished, and celebrated. As a queer woman, finding other queer community to share in life's joys and challenges and everything in between quite literally saved my life. As I shared, I once thought I had to choose my queerness or my sense of spirituality. Community showed me a different way, a world where I can exist beyond fear that mainstream society tries to keep each of us tethered to. Through the abundance of community, we are all able to see a world that flourishes beyond scarcity, because through community, there is more than enough space for us all. Community has often used different mediums to express themselves. As a way to wrap up, I'd love to read you a poem that I wrote about the way that community speaks to me. The beauty and abundance of community is tied together by threads of connection, creating a tapestry that reflects an image far greater than ourself. Just as waves lap against the shore, faithfully ebbing and flowing, community returns us all to a place of inner knowing, reminding us that finding our grounding is like being held in a warm embrace. There is no one without the rest of the world, for we share in each other's pain and joy, celebration, turmoil, and happiness. An act of resistance, a spiritual practice, a safe place to call home. Community. Amen. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zach. I am the Director of Religious Education here at Fourth U, and I'm with Gretchen Gabrielson, all the way from All Souls across the park here in New York City. And today, Gretchen gave an amazing sermon on an abundance of community. And so what we wanted to do is just interview her a little bit, get to know her a little more, and then, see if she can give us some tools in the form of answered questions that are going to help us think about her message throughout the week. So what do you think, Gretchen?
Sounds great.
Does that sound good?
Ready to rock?
Okay. So the first question I have for you, Gretchen, is the big one, right? So it is, tell us a little about yourself.
Awesome.
Whatever you think we need to know.
Okay. Great question. So, of course, my name is Gretchen. My pronouns are she, her. I think when I get asked this question, I love to tell a little bit about myself, but then also expand a little bit about my community. So some things that I love are being a part of community with other people. My friends are so important to me and to my understanding of self. I have a dog that's my best friend as well, and he's a part of that community.
What's his name?
Tank.
Tank.
And he's a 9-year-old Aussie Newfoundland. He's quite a tank. He's quite a tank.
Love it.
I love offering spiritual care to others. I think that care is a communal care. It's something that can't be done in isolation or in a vacuum. And so that's something I really try to integrate into my sense of self through journaling and hiking and being with others. So that's a big part of me. I also just love ice cream and laughing and being with other people. So
nice.
Some things about me.
We live on the Upper East Side, and I just found this amazing Twister gelato ice cream thing. And if I knew the name of it, I would say, but I cannot remember the name of it.
We'll find it later.
Yeah, but now I'm thinking about ice cream.
Yeah.
It's, as you can probably tell everyone, it's a hot New York City morning.
Yes.
So sorry about that. All right. Anything else?
I'm trying to think. I love sports. Nice. Big athlete. Played sports in college, and that was a big part of my becoming, is understanding what it's like to be with a team. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really played a part into my understanding of community as well. Awesome. And now that I'm in New York, I'm a big Mets fan, Red Sox fan originally. So those are my sports right now.
Great. All right. So we'll move on to the second question, which is also a doozy.
Love it.
What is the most valuable quality or strength you believe you can contribute to the world?
I love this question.
That's a big one.
That is a big one. Ooh, my knee-jerk reaction right now, that I think my most valuable trait, is that I really do believe that I can't do things alone, that I need other people beside me and around me. And I recognize that through community and through being or allowing people in, allowing people to share in my life, allows me to be the best version of myself. I think oftentimes we as human beings get in this mindset of I have to do things alone. We live in a capitalistic society that tells us it's a rat race, and getting out of that mentality and reminding myself that it's really the people around me and in community with myself, in union with myself, that makes a difference in this world. So I think that's something valuable that I really try to hold on to, and on all facets of my life.
Okay, so sharing each other's place in life along the way.
Yes, absolutely.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, great answer to could be a difficult question.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I have one more.
Okay, let's hear it.
If you could choose one superpower, anything, what would it be and why?
That's such a good question.
There's so many.
I know. I'm having a moment where I wanted to say flying, but that's a lie because I hate heights.
Oh, okay.
So that is not true. That is not true.
Me too.
I wanted to say invisible, but that's not really true either. I think it would be to be multiple places at once.
Oh, man.
Because, like, the whole concept of everything, everywhere, all at once is, like, so homey to me. I wish I could be doing 10 things at once and be with all the people that I love and be playing sports and resting and everything all at once. So that would be my superpower.
That's a new one I haven't heard of. The omnipresent superpower. That's awesome.
It's the one that's coming to me.
That's right. All right. Now, an abundance of community was the name of your message. So what or who inspired the message?
Ooh, great question. So I talked a little bit about this today in my sermon, but I think for me, when I went to divinity school and was really connected with other people, other queer people, I was really shown a different way of life, because for so long I was isolated to this belief that I really couldn't be everything all at once. I had to be either spiritual or queer, and meeting people that said, no, you can be both, really changed my life. And so that kind of abundance of community that showed me a reframe on my identity really is the foundation for this message. And those people continue to be the cornerstones and pillars of who I am today and continue to help me become the person I'm becoming. So I think a bunch of those people who are unnamed but know who they are, my friends, my apartment mates, partners, all those people.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a moving, thoughtful way to think about that, way to answer that.
Yeah.
Okay, now to community.
Ooh.
How does our interconnectedness within the Unitarian Universalist community, is a long question, uplift and transform our personal and collective well-being?
Ooh.
I know there's a lot going on.
No, I love this question. This is such a good question. I think the reason I love it is because the image that's coming to mind, or something that's just like popping up for me, is like I'm looking at the pride flag across the room and I'm seeing so many different colors all at once. And we're coming back to this like Octavia quote, everything, everywhere, all at once. Because all the colors are there and I'm seeing a vast array of prisms, if you will. And I feel like in the world with Unitarian Universalism, we're calling people to see everyone for who they are and what they bring to the table. And those unique gifts and skills offer us the ability to be in connection with one another, to see other people's perspectives, and therefore to be present for them in those perspectives, in their struggles and their joys and their celebrations. And I think that's very UU. I just think being able to honor people's existence and the diversity of it is the foundation of what we believe. And
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Excellent. Next, also deep question. In what creative and meaningful ways can our UU congregation here cultivate a spacious environment for healing and support among its members?
Yeah, that's such a good question.
From what you said already in your answers, I feel like you are a perfect person to answer this question. So I'm like waiting to hear. I'm going to write it down, talk about it at a staff meeting.
Yeah, I just feel like listening and sharing and being brave and being honest are, I think, cornerstones to healing. But also something that's coming to mind that's a little bit more abstract, if you will, is like art, expressing yourself and being able to do that maybe tangibly, like through poetry or through dance or through song. I feel like there are things that are unsaid often that need to be said in healing spaces. And those unspoken things can be expressed often through art. So that's something that comes to mind that I'm like, I need to integrate even into my own life more poetry and art and dance and song and expression. And so I think that's something we can all do, and I can do as well, to integrate more healing into our life.
Reading poetry and writing poetry, there's something about it that captures human existence and human struggle.
Absolutely.
I don't know, but what is the magic and mystery behind that? But it happens, you know.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's beautiful.
That's great. You're making me think about things for RE youth activities. Very cool.
Absolutely.
All right, last big question.
All right.
How do you think we, as a united UU community, can channel our collective strength to actively resist and challenge injustices in our society?
Ooh. I think there's so many, this is a big question. I think there's so many different ways to answer it, but my knee jerk in this moment is being uncomfortable and naming that uncomfortability. Because I think so many times, especially in our current understanding of the world that we have to be right or we have to say and know the right thing. But we live in a society that actively we have systems flowing through us that inform us of things that make us not sure of what the truth is. And I feel like if we honor that those systems are flowing through us and not necessarily the truth, we can talk about that more openly, more honestly. And so I just think being brave and being uncomfortable are just ways to tackle that. And I think they're ongoing processes, right? I think we as human beings want to start and a stop, but there is no start and stop to healing, to growth, to tackling injustice. It has to continue on. So honoring that as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's the last big question.
I love it.
Now, I think that's, yep. So that's the last one.
Cool.
Now, one of the things I'm noticing from your answers is that you're very eloquent and you have a lot of good things to say.
Thank you.
Is there anywhere we can read? Like, are you on the internet? Are you published somewhere? Can we read your thoughts
Great
somewhere?
question. So I would love to be one day published, but not now. I think where you can find me is I would love to grab coffee. I'm a coffee person.
Nice.
I would love to connect. I'm a connect person. So come find me. I'm across the park, usually in the Upper East Side. And I love to talk all things life and beauty and hardship and joy and celebration and sorrow. So come find me. Let's talk.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Gretchen.
Yeah.
You've given us a lot of wisdom. You've given us a lot of things to think about for the week.
Great.
And hopefully we will get to see you again back here on Getting the Message another time.
Yes, I would love that.
All right.
Love it.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.